My name is Nicole Carter. I'm 41, and I learned that blood doesn't guarantee loyalty when my own father called me worthless military trash at my cousin's wedding, 3 hours before the Secretary of Defense would personally deliver my 4th star. The morning started like any other family gathering. I'd driven for hours from DC to attend Emma's wedding at the country club where my parents had been members for 30 years. I wore a simple navy dress. Nothing flashy, nothing that would draw attention. After 23 years of service, I'd learned to read rooms before entering them, and this one screamed danger from the moment I walked through the mahogany doors. "Well, look what the cat dragged in," my Aunt Sharon whispered to my mother as I approached their table. Mum didn't even look up from adjusting her pearl necklace, the same pearls Dad bought her after his promotion to bank president 15 years ago. The same pearls she wore to every family function to remind everyone of their status. "Nicole, honey," Mum said with that saccharine tone she'd perfected over decades of country club luncheons, "we saved you a seat in the back. Didn't want you to feel out of place." Out of place at my own cousin's wedding. I smiled and took the seat they had relegated me to, table 12 next to the photographer's assistant, and a +1 nobody recognized. Emma had been like a sister to me growing up. We'd shared secrets, dreams, and promises to be each other's maid of honor someday. But somewhere along the way, those promises got buried under the weight of family expectations and my decision to choose service over their definition of success. The ceremony was beautiful. Emma looked radiant in her grandmother's vintage lace, and her fiancé Marcus couldn't stop smiling. I remembered when she used to call me crying about boys in high school, how I'd sneak her ice cream and let her vent about everything from homework to heartbreak. Those late-night conversations felt like a lifetime ago now. During cocktail hour, I nursed a club soda and watched my family work the room like politicians. Dad, in his perfectly tailored tuxedo, regaled a group of his golf buddies with stories about his latest real estate acquisitions. Mum floated between conversations, dropping hints about their recent vacation to Martha's Vineyard and Emma's upcoming honeymoon in Tuscany. A gift from them, of course. Nicole, Emma appeared beside me, breathless and glowing. "I can't believe you made it. I know how busy you are with work stuff." Work stuff. 23 years of service reduced to work stuff. "I wouldn't miss it for the world," I said, meaning it. "You look absolutely beautiful." Emma beamed, then glanced around nervously. "Listen, I'm sorry about the seating arrangement," Mum thought. "Don't worry about it," I interrupted. "I'm just happy to be here." But I wasn't just happy. I was heartbroken. This was my family, the people who were supposed to know me best, love me unconditionally. Instead, they treated me like an obligation, a distant relative they had to invite out of politeness. The reception began with all the traditional fanfare. Emma and Marcus had their first dance to The Way You Look Tonight, and I found myself wiping away tears I didn't expect to shed. Not from joy, but from a deep, aching loneliness that had nothing to do with being single and everything to do with being invisible. In a room full of people who shared my DNA, dinner was served. Prime rib and salmon, the kind of meal that cost more per plate than most people spent on groceries in a week. I picked up my food, making polite conversation with the photographer's assistant, a sweet college kid named Jake, who was working his way through art school. He was more interested in my stories than my own family had ever been. "So, what do you do for work?" Jake asked between courses. "I'm in the Navy," I said simply. "That's so cool. What's your job like?" Before I could answer, my father's voice boomed across the table. He'd had more than his share of wine, and his cheeks were flushed with alcohol and arrogance. "Job," Dad laughed, loud enough for neighboring tables to hear. "Nicole doesn't have a job. She has a hobby. Playing sailor for Uncle Sam doesn't count as a real career." The conversation around us dimmed. I felt heat rise in my cheeks, not from embarrassment, but from a familiar anger that I'd learned to control through years of discipline and training. Richard, Mom hissed, but she wasn't defending me. She was worried about appearances. "What? It's true," Dad continued, emboldened by the attention. "She's been playing dress-up for over 20 years. No husband, no kids, no real accomplishments. Just following orders like a good little soldier." "I'm actually in the Navy, Dad, not the Army. Same difference. You're government property, either way." The words hit like physical blows. Government property. Is that really how my own father saw me? I thought about the classified briefings I'd attended, Just that morning, the weight of decisions that affected national security, the responsibility I carried for thousands of sailors under my command. But in this room, surrounded by people who measured success in stock portfolios and social connections, none of that mattered. Uncle Paul, Dad's younger brother, decided to pile on. I don't understand why you never settled down, Nicole. Military life is no life for a woman. You missed your chance at having a real family. A real family. I looked around the table at these people, my blood relatives, who knew nothing about my life, my struggles, my achievements, who had no idea that I'd been deployed to some of the most dangerous regions in the world, that I'd made decisions under fire that saved lives, that I'd earned the respect of some of the most decorated officers in military history. She's married to the military. Aunt Sharon chimed in with a bitter laugh, though I suppose that's better than being alone. But I wasn't married to the military. I was the military. I was part of something bigger than country club memberships and vacation homes. I was part of a legacy of service that stretched back generations, though apparently not through this family. Emma, bless her heart, tried to change the subject. Who wants to see the cake? The decorator did this amazing sugar flower work. Don't change the subject for her. Dad interrupted, his voice getting louder and more slurred. Nicole needs to hear this. We've all been too polite for too long. Look at yourself, honey. You're 41 years old, living in some tiny apartment on a government salary, taking orders from people probably half your age. This isn't the life we wanted for you. Maybe it's the life I wanted for myself, I said quietly. Dad laughed, a harsh, ugly sound that cut through the wedding reception like broken glass. The life you wanted, sweetheart. You wanted to play dress up and feel important. Well, congratulations. You're an overpaid security guard with a fancy uniform. The table fell silent. Even the photographer's assistant looked uncomfortable. I could see Emma's face crumpling, her perfect day dissolving into family drama she never wanted. That's when my phone buzzed. I glanced down at the screen and saw a text from Admiral Harrison, chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Helicopter ETA, 1900 hours. Secretary of Defense aboard. Historic day, Admiral. Proud to witness this, Admiral. The word echoed in my mind as I looked up at my father, who was still smirking at his own cleverness. If only he knew. If only any of them knew. I excused myself and walked to the ladies' room, needing a moment to breathe. In the mirror, I saw not the failure my family described, but a woman who dedicated her life to something greater than herself. A woman who'd earned every ribbon on her dress uniform through sacrifice, leadership, and unwavering commitment to her country. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was a news alert. President announces promotion of Rear Admiral Nicole Carter to Admiral, making her one of the youngest 4-star admirals in naval history. Ceremony tonight at Naval War College. I stared at the notification for a long moment, then at my reflection. 4 stars, the culmination of everything I'd worked for, everything I'd sacrificed, and my family had no idea. When I returned to the table, Dad was regaling the room with another story about my failures. And she calls us maybe twice a year. Twice. As if she's too important now for family. But what has she really... I recognized Admiral Harrison immediately, his chest covered in ribbons and medals that told the story of a lifetime of distinguished service. Behind him walked Secretary of Defense Patricia Whitmore, a woman whose reputation preceded her into any room. The entire reception fell silent as the 3 officers scanned the room. Then Admiral Harrison spotted me and smiled. There she is, he said, his voice carrying across the silent ballroom. Admiral Carter. Every head in the room turned toward me. I could feel my family's confusion like a physical presence, their minds trying to process what they were hearing. Secretary Whitmore approached our table with purpose, her heels clicking authoritatively on the marble floor. She stopped directly in front of me, and I stood at attention out of respect. Admiral Carter, she said, her voice clear enough for everyone to hear. I apologize for interrupting this family celebration, but the president was insistent that we conduct this ceremony tonight. The promotion cannot wait. She opened a small wooden box, revealing 4 silver stars that gleamed under the chandelier lights. By order of the President of the United States, and confirmed by the United States Senate, Nicole Elizabeth Carter is hereby promoted to the rank of Admiral, effective immediately. The silence that followed was deafening. I could hear my own heartbeat as Secretary Whitmore pinned the 4th star to my dress, transforming me from the government property my father had described into one of the most senior military officers in the country. Admiral Harrison stepped forward. Admiral Carter, Your leadership during Operation Neptune, SHIELD, and your innovative approaches to maritime security have earned you not just this promotion, but the respect of every service member under your command. You are a credit to the uniform and to the Navy. I felt tears threatening, but they weren't tears of sadness anymore. They were tears of vindication, of recognition, of finally being seen for who I truly was. Thank you, Secretary Whitmore. Admiral Harrison, it's an honor to serve. Secretary Whitmore nodded, then addressed the room. Ladies and gentlemen, you are in the presence of one of the finest naval officers this country has ever produced. Admiral Carter's strategic mind and unwavering dedication have made our nation safer, and her promotion makes her one of the youngest four-star admirals in our history. As the three officials prepared to leave, Admiral Harrison turned back to our table. His gaze fell on my father, who had gone completely pale and silent. Mr. Carter, the Admiral said, you should be incredibly proud of your daughter. She's a genuine American hero. After they left, the helicopter's rotors fading into the distance, the reception hall remained eerily quiet. I could feel hundreds of eyes on me trying to reconcile the woman they thought they knew with the officer they just witnessed, being honored by the highest levels of government. Emma was the first to move, tears streaming down her face as she threw her arms around me. Nicole, I had no idea. I'm so sorry I didn't know. It's okay, I whispered, holding my cousin tight. It's not your fault. But as Emma stepped back, I turned to face my father. His face had gone from flushed red to ashen gray, and his hands were trembling slightly as he set down his wineglass. Dad, I said quietly, I want you to understand something. For 23 years, I've given everything to serve this country. I've missed birthdays, holidays, weddings, and funerals. I've put my life on the line in ways you'll never understand, and I've carried burdens that would break most people. My voice remained calm, but every word was deliberate. I've done this not because I'm playing dress-up or following orders like a good little soldier, but because I believe in something bigger than myself. I believe in protecting people, even people who don't respect what I do. Dad opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. I've never asked for your approval or understanding, I continued. I've only ever wanted your respect. But tonight, I realized something. I don't need it anymore. I have the respect of my peers, my subordinates, and my country. That's enough. I looked around the table at my family. My mother with her perfect pearls and imperfect priorities. My uncle, who measured a woman's worth by her marital status. My aunt, who couldn't see past her own narrow worldview. I love you all, I said, meaning it despite everything. You're my family, and that will never change. But I won't pretend to be less than I am to make you comfortable. I'm Admiral Nicole Carter, United States Navy. I command over 15,000 sailors. I've advised presidents on matters of national security, and I've dedicated my life to something greater than stock portfolios and country club memberships. I picked up my clutch and prepared to leave. Emma grabbed my arm. Please don't go, she pleaded. This is supposed to be the happiest day of my life, and I want you here. I kissed her cheek gently. This is your day, Em. Don't let anyone ruin it for you. But I think I've said what I needed to say. As I walked toward the exit, I heard whispers following me. Some were words of amazement, others of admiration. A few guests I didn't even know approached me to shake my hand or offer congratulations. Near the door, Jake, the photographer's assistant, caught up with me. Admiral Carter, he said, slightly breathless. I just wanted to say thank you for your service, and that was the most incredible thing I've ever witnessed. I smiled at him. Take care of yourself, Jake. And remember, never let anyone tell you your dreams aren't worth pursuing. Outside, the evening air was crisp and clear. I could see the lights of the helicopter in the distance, heading back toward Washington. My phone had dozens of messages, congratulations from colleagues, friends, and fellow officers who'd seen the news. But there was one message that made me pause. It was from my grandmother, my father's mother, who lived in a retirement community about an hour away. Nicole, dear, I just saw you on the news. I am so proud of you, sweetheart. I always knew you would